effect, you know, we were to research a school trip, and they said that they do like a day, and they do like music as well.
Ah, yes, which I believe is very effective.
Yes, so that's, I don't know if they still do it, but that they might, I mean, so again, I suppose what works for one too. You just, I know, have to kind of explain it, but I think that, all this sort of being able to touch things.
Yes.
And,
yes, if you can do something sensory, that works. That works very, very well. Some of my colleagues, I must admit, because some of my colleagues think of these kids into sensory.
oh, right.
Because they have the national collection of tree ferns. Oh, the only thing is that the tree ferns come from the cooler rainforest, not really with the really hot ones. So it can demonstrate to them a slightly different type of plant. So in here we have, this is South Africa. That goes around to Australasia, then temperate Asia, which is mostly China and Japan. And then that last bit on the other side is South America, excluding the Amazon.
The boys in my class is from Colombia.
Oh, really? Oh, he enjoyed it.
I know. I think he's came to 5, and he's in primary 6. He's actually visiting family in Colombia just now, and I think he's coming back. We'll be back after the holidays.
Right.
I think for when he goes to secondary school, I'll just go back to Colombia. He's back studying, or he's late to university, I think. And I always think when we're doing it for topic humours. No,
It must make me feel a little bit homesick.
Yeah, I always feel like what I do, because you see people, and I don't want it class to get the wrong attention. You know, you see the chives and things.
Yes,
so some sort of
tribal Indian sometimes. So, tree ferns are slightly unusual because what you see on the trunk here are all its roots.
Right.
So with this, when they come in the morning, they actually have to water the trunk. The ground isn't quite so important because most of the roots are on the trunk.
So it's just,
now for your, I mean, you say you've got, what do you think about that next year? Yeah. This was very Victorian. And underneath that drain, there's an orchestra pit.
Right.
And we knew, before it was restored, we knew it was there because nobody living had ever seen it.
Yeah.
And when we found it, it's not really that big. I mean, to call it an orchestra pit, the musicians must have been dwarves, quite honestly. You wouldn't have got more than about 4 people in there with an instrument. And the only way into it was using a ladder. But when the house was first put here, there were no beds. All the plants were in pots or to big tubs.
Yeah.
And so what they would do, and it was not open to the general public, only to the paying elite. And I always say to kids, you can imagine the Victorian women with their bustles and the men with their top hats promenading around this house with the orchestra playing in the middle, and because it's directly underneath the central dome, you get the echo.
Yeah.
And so the sound was permeated throughout the house.
So they would be underground playing?
They would. I mean, they would actually, you would stand on the edge like this and they would be down there. I mean, to be honest, it's only about 7 to 8 foot deep. It's not huge. But so we actually put holes in the bottom and covered it up again, but the drain shows where it is. But I have to be careful what I say, because I told this once and I obviously I didn't explain it very well. And this little boy said, "But how did they get down there?"
The bad people, we put the bad ones in
Absolutely.
there.
Oh, absolutely, yes. So it gives them, as I say, this is another kind of rainforest, but it's a cooler one.
Yeah.
So large trees are from the northern Australian rainforest, and from the northernmost tip of New Zealand and the southernmost tip of South America. Unfortunately, we do have a huge problem in here. About 10 years ago, somebody dumped a load of stick insects.
Oh.
And I suspect perhaps a parent who thought, you know, they had the stick insects for the kids at home,
Yeah.
and then discovered how they breed, and didn't want to kill them, and they brought them in here and released them. And they thought, oh, well, they eat plants. That's the whole point, they're vegetarian. Oh, and the damage. Well, if I take you up here, I can show you the damage that they do to... Oh, by the way, this is one of those non-edible bananas, and this is one of the flowers.
Oh, right.
Really,
Okay.
you can see the actual flowers there,
Yeah.
and this is the sort of flower leaves. But the damage they do... this is a jasmine.
Oh, right.
And the chap in charge of his house grew so frustrated at around Christmas time because it was so covered in stick insects.
Oh.
He pruned it. Well, you can see how he's pruned it.
Oh, yeah.
It'll survive. It's sprouting. They shook it, and they actually picked up over 300 stick insects just on that one plant. It is an absolute nightmare. They can grow to that sort of size. The damage, the devastation they do. And we haven't yet found a chemical that kills them. And people just do not think.
Yeah. I know. Oh.
So, unfortunately, one of our bosses in the council decided on one occasion to put it on the television news and say, oh, stores ought to come and collect the stick insects they can, which is fine, except of course they were running all over the beds.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I mean, here, look, this is what they do.
Oh, dear. Yeah.
And
That lady must have seen that on the TV and thought, oh.
Absolutely, and this is actually one of the plants they don't like because underneath the leaves it's quite hairy.
Yeah.
But they get desperate. So basically, any plant that you see that's pretty much cut down to the ground is one of the most favourite of the plants of the stick insects. It is a nightmare. Oh, I thought that was under there. No. So we come in early in the morning before we open to the public.
Yeah.
If you ever see the staff doing this, it looks very odd, but we're searching for sticks and we find them, we just
It
squash
must be
them.
hard to find as well.
They're terribly
so
difficult to see, really difficult to see, because they always lay along a twig,
Yeah.
and they'll lay along the central vein on those leaves, and so you can't see them. They're terribly hard to see. And this is their absolute favourite. So every year this gets cut right back to the ground. You know, come autumn, it looks terrible because it's just been eaten to death. And this is one of my favourites. I'll come in the morning and I'll look at this and I'm stomping away all these dead bodies. And we can't let the kids see us doing it because they get very upset.
Yeah.
So don't ever suggest keeping stick insects in the classroom.
Yeah.